This is not just an audiobook, it is a remembrance of your true nature. The Law of Unforced Power teaches that the life you long for is not achieved through struggle, but received through surrender. The power that creates worlds now flows through you, if only you'll allow it. The Unforced Power. Introduction. In the depths of your being lies a truth so fundamental, yet so often overlooked, that its rediscovery has the power to transform everything. This truth, whispered through the ages by the wisest of sages, reveals that true power flows not from force, but from allowance. The universe operates through an eternal dance of effortless manifestation. Look to nature. A flower does not strain to bloom, a river does not struggle to flow, and the stars do not labor to shine. They simply are, existing in perfect harmony with the cosmic laws that govern all creation. You have been taught that achievement comes through striving, through pushing against the currents of life. Yet this ancient wisdom teaches otherwise. When you cease the endless doing, when you release the grip of constant effort, you tap into a force far greater than any human endeavor could produce. This is not passivity, but rather a state of aligned receptivity. It is the art of stepping into the flow that already exists, of aligning with the natural order that perpetually moves toward abundance and fulfillment. The universe seeks expression through you, but this can only happen when you stop blocking its flow with the very actions you believe will help. Within these stories lies a pathway to power that defies conventional understanding. It is a return to the original state of being, where manifestation occurs not through force of will, but through the perfect alignment with what is. This is the power that creates worlds, that turns dreams into reality, that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. You stand at the threshold of remembering what your soul has always known, that the greatest power comes not from doing, but from being, not from forcing, but from allowing, not from controlling, but from surrendering to the infinite wisdom that orchestrates the cosmos. Part 1, The Awakening of Silent Power. Chapter 1, The Whisper Beneath the Noise. In the quiet hills of a small village, Evelyn tended her garden each morning, just as she had done with her husband for 30 years before his passing. Yet now, in the stillness of her solitude, something shifted. While others offered well-meaning advice about moving on and staying busy, she found herself drawn to the peaceful moments between activities. In these spaces of silence, a gentle knowing emerged, not a voice, but a presence that guided her steps with perfect timing, orchestrating encounters and revelations that no amount of planning could have achieved. The greatest power in all creation moves without force. When you cease the endless doing, planning, and striving, you open yourself to the sacred current that has always flowed beneath the surface of your life. This force requires no effort. It asks only for your trust and surrender. It is the ancient wisdom that sages throughout time have discovered. True power lies not in exhaustion, but in alignment. Most souls waste precious energy attempting to control life's river, exhausting themselves, swimming against its natural flow. You have been taught that achievement comes through struggle, that success demands constant action. Yet the deepest truths of the universe reveal otherwise. In stillness lies the seed of all manifestation. In silence dwells the power that moves worlds. The universe itself was born not from chaos, but from the perfect stillness that precedes all creation. Along a bustling street in the financial district, Clifford sat in his empty office, surrounded by the remnants of his failed enterprise. 20 years of relentless drive had led to this moment of total loss, With nothing left to lose, he finally stopped. Stopped planning, stopped worrying, stopped trying to force solutions. In that surrender, something extraordinary occurred. Ideas began flowing effortlessly. Opportunities appeared without effort. The very success that had eluded his grasp now seemed to seek him out, as though it had been waiting all along for him to simply step aside and allow the natural abundance of the universe to reach him. These stories mirror the truth of your own journey. Like Evelyn and Clifford, you have likely spent countless hours pushing against life's natural rhythm, believing that more effort would yield better results. Yet the universe's most potent wisdom lies in the spaces between your thoughts, in the moments when you finally release the need to make things happen. It is in these sacred pauses that your true power awakens, connecting you to the infinite intelligence that has guided all of creation since time immemorial. As the first light of dawn breaks across the horizon, find a quiet place to sit. For 5 minutes, allow yourself to simply be. Focus gently on your breath, not forcing it, but observing its natural rhythm. Release all mental effort, all need to control or direct. Let your thoughts float past like clouds, neither grasping nor pushing them away. In this sacred stillness, listen to the whispers of your soul. For here, in perfect silence, the universe reveals its deepest secrets and most profound gifts, awaiting only your receptive heart to claim them. Chapter 2. The Great Ceasefire Within. In the shadows of a moonlit garden, Franklin sat motionless, his weathered hands resting upon his knees. For years after returning from war, he had carried the battlefield within his mind, fighting phantom enemies in every interaction, tensing at every unexpected sound. Yet on this night, as the evening breeze whispered through the leaves, he discovered a truth that would transform his existence. The war was over, not just in the world but within himself. The peace he had sought in distant lands had always resided in the quiet chambers of his own heart, waiting patiently to be acknowledged. You see, the universe responds not to your actions, but to your frequency. When you wage war with life, resisting what is, fighting what comes, struggling against the current, you create a discord that ripples through the fabric of your reality. This resistance becomes a barrier, blocking the very blessings that seek to find you. Like a radio tuned to static rather than melody, your being cannot receive the harmonious gifts that constantly flow toward you. The Law of Unforced Power reveals that your inner state of being determines what flows into your life. When you cease the internal battle, when you lay down the weapons of worry, control, and resistance, you align with the natural harmony of existence. It is not your striving that brings forth abundance, but your surrender to the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all things. In this sacred surrender, you discover that you have never been separate from the source of all creation. In a suburban home across town, Dorothy paced her kitchen floor, her children's schedules and activities mapped out in meticulous detail on the wall calendar. The more she tried to orchestrate their lives, the more chaos erupted. Tantrums increased, grades declined, and the joy of family life dissolved into a daily power struggle. Then one day, exhausted and defeated, she released her grip. She stopped forcing, stopped controlling, stopped demanding perfection. In that space of surrender, something miraculous unfolded. Her children began to flourish naturally, their unique paths unfolding with an ease she had never imagined possible. The garden of her family life, once strangled by the weeds of control, now blossomed with vibrant authenticity. This tale mirrors the truth within your own life. Where are you still at war? What battles do you wage daily, believing that your fighting stance protects you? The power you seek lies not in control, but in release. When you cease struggling against life's current, you discover that the river has always known where to carry you. The universe has been conspiring for your highest good since before you drew your first breath. Take now a piece of paper. Write upon it the one area of your life where you find yourself in constant battle. Feel the weight of this struggle as you hold the paper in your hands. Then, in sacred ceremony, release it, whether through flame or earth. Let this physical act mirror the internal surrender of your spirit. As you watch your written words dissolve or return to the earth, know that you too are dissolving the frequency of resistance within your being. This ritual is not merely symbolic. It is a cosmic declaration of your willingness to flow with, rather than against, the divine current that carries all life toward its highest expression. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Effort. In a small village positioned among rolling hills, Harold toiled from dawn until dusk, his shovel striking the earth with relentless determination. Day after day he dug deeper and wider, convinced that beneath the soil lay the treasure that would change his fortune. The villagers watched as his hole grew larger, yet yielded nothing but more dirt and stones. Harold's hands became calloused, his back bent with strain, but still he dug, driven by an urgent fear that if he stopped he would lose everything. His desperation grew with each passing season, as the hole, now large enough to swallow his modest home, became a monument to his anxious pursuit. You must understand that effort born of fear creates a veil between you and your desires. When you move through life with desperate intensity, you disturb the natural flow of universal forces. Like Harold, you may find yourself expending tremendous energy while moving further from your true path. The universe operates through alignment, not through force. When your actions spring from anxiety or urgency, you create resistance in the very fabric of manifestation. This resistance, invisible yet powerful, blocks the very abundance you seek to attract. Think of the times you have pushed against life's current, believing that more effort would yield better results. Yet the law of attraction responds not to the intensity of your labor, but to the clarity of your energy. When you release the grip of fearful action, you allow the natural forces of manifestation to work unimpeded. It is in this sacred space of surrender that miracles unfold with effortless grace, often in ways far more magnificent than your limited vision could have conceived. This truth revealed itself to Mabel, a merchant who had built her life around constant motion. Her days were filled with endless tasks and ceaseless planning until illness confined her to bed. At first she fought against this enforced rest, certain her world would crumble without her constant attention. Yet as days passed, she witnessed something remarkable. Opportunities she had long pursued began appearing at her door. Business partnerships formed effortlessly, solutions emerged spontaneously, and the very success she had struggled to achieve flowed naturally into her life. What had eluded her through years of striving arrived during weeks of stillness. What Mabel discovered, and what you must now understand, is that your striving often stands between you and your desires. The universe's wisdom far exceeds your careful plans. When you step back from compulsive doing, you create space for divine timing to operate. In this sacred surrender, you align with the ancient rhythms of creation that have guided the unfolding of worlds since time immemorial. Sacred practice. Tomorrow, from sunrise to sunset, resist the urge to force any outcome. Do not try to fix situations that appear broken. Do not rush to fill silences or solve problems. Instead, observe how life unfolds when you release your grip on control. Notice what arrives naturally when you stop interfering with the universe's perfect timing. In your journal, record the moments when solutions appeared without your intervention, when situations resolved themselves and when desired outcomes manifested through allowing rather than forcing. This practice of conscious surrender will reveal to you the invisible hand of universal intelligence that has always been working on your behalf. Chapter 4. The Way of the River. In a sun-dappled studio at the edge of town, Lucille stood before her canvas, brush poised but motionless. For months, she had tried to force inspiration, scheduling strict painting hours and demanding creativity appear on command. Yet each attempt left her canvas as blank as before. While her spirit grew increasingly rigid with frustration, the joy of creation replaced by the burden of expectation. One autumn morning, breaking from her routine, she wandered to the riverbank near her home. As she watched the water's endless dance, something within her began to soften. The river didn't strain or struggle, it simply flowed, finding its way around every obstacle, transforming the very earth through its gentle persistence. That evening, Lucille painted until dawn, her brush moving like water across the canvas, each stroke an expression of surrender to the current of creativity that had always been waiting for her. You too are meant to flow like water through life. Notice how a stream never fights its way through stone, yet over time creates magnificent canyons. This is the essence of true power, not the force of will, but the wisdom of water. When you align with this natural movement, life carves its masterpiece through you. The ancient sages understood this principle, that true strength lies not in resistance, but in yielding, not in forcing, but in flowing. Warren, a successful executive, believed control was the key to achievement. He scheduled every minute, planned every outcome, and fortified his life against uncertainty. Then came the flood that swept through his meticulously maintained garden. For days he battled against the water with sandbags and pumps, exhausting himself in the process. Only when he finally stepped back did he notice how the flood had deposited rich soil exactly where his garden needed it most, bringing unexpected fertility to ground that had grown barren under his careful control. Like Warren, you may be damming your own flow, believing that rigid control will lead to desired outcomes. Yet the universe moves with a wisdom far beyond your carefully laid plans. When you release your grip on life's current, you allow it to carry you toward possibilities you could never have engineered. This surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of wisdom, an acknowledgement of the perfect order that exists beyond your limited perception. Stand now beside flowing water, be it a mighty river or the simple stream of your shower. Let the sound of moving water remind you of life's natural rhythm. As you watch or feel the water's movement, speak these words with quiet certainty. I allow life to flow through me. Visualize any blockages, your fears, your need for control, your rigid expectations, being gently washed away. Feel yourself becoming as fluid and unstoppable as the water itself, a channel through which the universe expresses its boundless creativity and abundance. Chapter 5. The Power That Answers Only Silence. In a small chapel positioned among ancient oaks, Virginia knelt each morning, her whispered prayers echoing off stone walls that had absorbed countless supplications over centuries. Day after day, she pleaded with the universe, her voice growing hoarse with desperate requests, her knees marked by the cold stone beneath them. Yet the more fervently she spoke, the more distant divine guidance seemed to become. Like a star that recedes, the harder one strains to see it. One evening, exhausted from her endless petitions and the weight of unanswered prayers, she simply sat in silence, too weary even for words. As the last rays of sunlight filtered through stained glass, casting prisms of color across her still form, something extraordinary occurred. In the absence of her own voice, she finally heard the whisper of the universe. not in words, but in the profound knowing that arose from her quiet heart, a revelation as gentle yet powerful as the first breath of dawn. You must understand that the universe responds not to endless requests, but to the silent resonance of your being. When you cease the constant asking, the ceaseless stream of words that often mask your true desires, you enter a state of pure receptivity where genuine communion becomes possible. Your energy field, the vibration you emit through your presence, speaks more clearly than any words you could utter, carrying your truth to the farthest corners of creation. This truth manifested powerfully in the life of George, a renowned orator who prided himself on his ability to persuade others through eloquent speech. Despite his mastery of rhetoric and carefully crafted arguments, he found his influence waning. His words, though perfectly crafted like polished gems, seemed to bounce off invisible walls of resistance, leaving his audiences unmoved and his purpose unfulfilled. Everything changed when illness temporarily robbed him of his voice. Forced into silence by circumstances beyond his control, George discovered that his mere presence, when aligned with inner peace, moved people more deeply than his most compelling arguments ever had. His quiet confidence and centered energy drew others naturally to his wisdom, without a single word being spoken. In the eloquence of his silence, he found his greatest power. This mirrors an eternal truth. Your vibrational state is your true voice in the universe. When you align your being with what you seek, rather than constantly asking for it, you enter the frequency where manifestation occurs naturally, effortlessly. The universe responds not to what you say, but to what you are, to the silent symphony of your authentic self resonating with cosmic intention. Sacred practice. As the day draws to a close, find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed, a sanctuary for your spirit. Sit comfortably and hold your deepest intention in your heart, not as a demand, but as a treasured truth. For 5 minutes, resist the urge to form words or move your body. Simply be with your desire, letting it pulse silently within you like a beacon. Allow your entire being to become a silent prayer, a pure vibration of intention that transcends language. This practice aligns you with the language of the universe itself, the eloquent silence of pure being, where all creation begins. Chapter 6. The secret the world distracts you from. In the bustling heart of a city that never rests, Marjorie lived her life in perpetual motion. From dawn until dusk, her world pulsed with notifications, calls, and endless streams of information. Like many, she had forgotten what silence felt like until fate intervened with an unexpected power outage that stretched across an entire weekend. At first, the silence felt like an enemy. Her fingers twitched for screens that wouldn't light. Her mind raced for connections that weren't there. But as hours passed, something ancient stirred within her consciousness. Without the constant hum of technology, she began to hear the forgotten language of her own soul. You see, the modern world has created a veil of noise so thick that it obscures the very wisdom you seek. This endless stream of information does not inform, it drowns. Your inner voice, the compass that guides you toward your highest good, speaks in whispers that cannot compete with the shouting of 1,000 notifications. The ancient sages understood this truth, retreating to mountains and deserts not to escape life, but to hear it more clearly. When you allow yourself to step away from the noise, you rediscover a power that has always resided within. This power needs no charging, no updating, no external validation. It simply is, and it has been waiting for you to remember it. It is the same power that has guided seekers throughout the ages, a divine intelligence that flows through all things, including you. Consider Stanley, who filled every moment with podcasts, news feeds, and endless scrolling. His morning routine was a symphony of digital chaos, checking emails while brushing teeth, reading headlines while making coffee, listening to audiobooks while commuting. Yet beneath this carefully crafted productivity lay an exhausted soul yearning for peace. One day, when his devices simultaneously failed, Stanley discovered something remarkable. In the spaces between his thoughts, in the moments he would have filled with noise, he found a wellspring of clarity he never knew existed. The silence he had feared became his greatest teacher. In that sacred stillness, solutions to problems that had plagued him for months suddenly appeared with effortless grace. The truth reveals itself. The external world profits from your distraction, but your spirit thrives in stillness. Every ping, every notification, every headline pulls you further from the wisdom that resides within. Your power does not come from staying connected to the world. It emerges when you reconnect with yourself. This is not merely philosophy. It is the hidden mechanism by which the universe operates. Sacred practice. For the next 24 hours, create a sanctuary of silence. Disconnect from all technology, phones, computers, television, radio. Keep only a simple journal by your side. As thoughts arise, let them flow onto paper. Notice what emerges when the digital world falls away. What whispers do you hear in the silence? What truths have been waiting to surface? Record these discoveries, for they are messages from your own soul, finally given space to speak. This practice, so simple yet profound, has transformed the lives of countless seekers who dared to listen to the wisdom that silence reveals. Chapter 7. The Law That Works in the Shadows. In the depths of an ancient garden where wisdom grows as freely as wildflowers, lived Edith, whose hands knew the language of the soil. Each morning she would plant her seeds and tend to her garden, yet never once did she dig them up to check their progress. Her faith in the unseen process was absolute, unwavering through seasons of drought and abundance alike. You too hold seeds of desire within your heart. Like Edith's garden, these seeds require your trust more than your vigilance. The universe operates in perfect order beneath the surface of your awareness, orchestrating countless invisible movements that will, in time, burst forth into manifestation. This divine orchestration works ceaselessly, whether you perceive it or not, following eternal laws that have guided creation since time immemorial. When you plant a seed, you do not command it to grow, you simply create the conditions for its natural unfoldment. This is the hidden mechanics of the law of attraction. Your role is not to force the flower from the seed, but to maintain the sacred space where growth becomes inevitable. In this gentle guardianship lies your greatest power, the power of allowing. Consider Raymond, who carried within him a dream of artistic expression. For years he struggled, pushing and straining against external circumstances. Then one day he simply began painting in his basement, telling no one. He stopped speaking of his aspirations, ceased seeking approval or validation. In that private sanctuary of creation, something shifted within him. His energy, no longer scattered in endless discussion and debate, concentrated itself in pure expression. The sacred silence became his teacher and his strength. Months passed, and without any effort to promote himself, opportunities began to appear. A neighbor noticed his work through his basement window. A local gallery owner happened to cross his path. His art found its way into the world not through his striving, but through his alignment. The universe, recognizing the authentic vibration of his creation, opened pathways that no amount of forced effort could have revealed. The truth whispers to us through these tales. The most powerful transformations begin in darkness, in silence, in the sacred space where no eyes watch and no voices judge. Like the seed beneath the soil, your desires germinate in the quiet depths of your being. Your task is not to force them into the light, but to trust the wisdom of the process. This ancient principle has guided mystics and manifestors throughout the ages. The universe responds not to your words or your watching, but to your energetic alignment. When you learn to work in harmony with this principle, you become like Edith, patient, trusting, and in perfect harmony with the natural order of manifestation. Your faith becomes the fertile soil in which miracles take root. Sacred practice. Choose one desire that burns within your heart. Today, perform one small action in service of this desire, but hold it close to your soul. Plant this seed in secret, telling no one. Let it be a private covenant between you and the universe. In this silence, feel the power of your alignment growing stronger, knowing that beneath the surface, countless forces are already at work, bringing your desire into form. Trust in this sacred process as the ancients did, for in secrecy, the most powerful magic unfolds. Chapter 8. The Art of Doing Nothing Properly. In a bustling city where the rhythm of life pulsed with endless activity, Agnes measured her worth by the length of her to-do list. Each morning brought a fresh avalanche of tasks, meetings, and obligations, until one day her body made the choice her mind refused to make. Exhausted beyond measure, she collapsed onto her couch, physically unable to continue her relentless pace. What happened next transformed her understanding of power forever. In her forced surrender to rest, something extraordinary awakened within her. The mental fog that had clouded her judgment for years began to lift. Solutions to problems that had haunted her emerged effortlessly. Opportunities she had been chasing revealed themselves naturally, drawn to her newfound state of receptivity. You see, true power does not arise from constant motion. The universe operates through cycles of action and rest, just as nature moves through seasons. When you resist these natural rhythms, you create resistance to the very flow that seeks to bring you what you desire. Walter, a renowned surgeon, learned this truth through his own journey into stillness. For decades, he prided himself on working longer hours than any of his colleagues. His reputation grew, but his inner light dimmed. Only when a health scare forced him to step back did he discover that his greatest contributions came not from his ceaseless activity, but from the wisdom gained in moments of conscious withdrawal. In the quiet spaces between his thoughts, Walter found answers that had eluded his brilliant but overworked mind. His surgical innovations, which would later save countless lives, emerged not from hours of research but from moments of pure, unstructured being. These stories mirror a truth you already know in your bones. Stillness is not the absence of power. It is power in its purest form. When you allow yourself to rest deeply, without guilt or resistance, you align with the natural order of the universe. This alignment is what draws to you everything you have been striving to achieve. Sacred practice. Choose a day within the next week. Set aside 2 hours where you will do absolutely nothing. No books, no music, no meditation apps. Simply be. Let your mind wander. Allow yourself to lie on your bed or sit in your garden, watch the clouds, or study the patterns of light on your wall. Most importantly, release all guilt about this time of doing nothing. Observe how your energy shifts, how your thoughts clarify, and what insights or opportunities naturally arise in the wake of your conscious rest. Remember, this is not laziness, it is spiritual alignment. In these moments of sacred idleness, You become a clear channel through which the universe can work its greatest magic. Chapter 9. The Unseen Hands of the Universe. In the depths of winter, Clara sat alone in her empty house, surrounded by photographs of a life that no longer existed. Her husband's passing had left her adrift, and no amount of planning or effort seemed to restore her sense of direction. Yet in this very moment of complete surrender, when she had exhausted herself trying to rebuild her life, something remarkable began to unfold. Without her seeking them out, neighbors started appearing at her door with warm meals. A distant cousin called unexpectedly, offering to help organize her finances. A part-time position opened at the local library, a place she had always loved but never considered working. One by one, pieces of a new life assembled themselves, guided by an invisible hand she had never noticed before. The universe operates with an intelligence far beyond your comprehension. When you cease your desperate attempts to control every outcome, you create space for this divine orchestration to work in your favor. Your struggles often stem not from a lack of support, but from blocking the very assistance trying to reach you. Consider Eugene, who had spent 20 years pursuing his dream of opening a specific type of restaurant in his hometown. He had tried everything: loans, partnerships, different locations, but nothing materialized. Finally, exhausted and defeated, he released his grip on this long-held desire. Within months, he inherited his aunt's small cafe in a neighboring town. Though different from his original vision, this unexpected gift became the foundation for something far more fulfilling than what he had initially imagined. These stories illuminate a fundamental truth. The universe is not waiting for your perfect plan or tireless effort. It awaits your surrender. When you step back from forcing outcomes, you allow a greater wisdom to arrange circumstances in ways your limited perspective could never conceive. Your role is not to orchestrate every detail of your life's symphony. You are meant to play your part while trusting in the unseen conductor who knows the full score. This trust is not passive. It is the highest form of spiritual action. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment and write a letter to the universe. Pour into it every worry, dream, and desire you've been carrying. Hold nothing back. Write as though you're corresponding with an all-knowing, infinitely loving force that has only your highest good in mind. Once complete, choose a location that feels sacred to you, perhaps beneath a tree, near a body of water, or in a special corner of your home. Place the letter there with these words: I release these desires into divine care, trusting they will be handled in perfect timing and in ways that serve the highest good. Leave the letter in its sacred space for 7 days. During this time, watch how life begins to move differently when you truly let go and allow the universe to work on your behalf. Chapter 10. Let go and it is given. In a small coastal town, Hattie spent her evenings watching couples stroll along the shore, her heart aching with loneliness. Each day she would write elaborate lists of qualities she sought in a partner, attend every social gathering she could find, and scrutinize dating profiles until her eyes grew weary. The more desperately she searched, the more love seemed to slip through her fingers like grains of sand. You must understand that the universe responds not to desperation, but to alignment. When you grasp tightly at what you desire, you create resistance that pushes it away. This ancient wisdom reveals that true manifestation occurs in the space of letting go. The law of attraction operates through paradox. What you chase will flee. What you release will return. Your attachment to outcomes creates a frequency of lack, broadcasting to the universe that you believe yourself incomplete. Yet completeness is your natural state, and it is from this place of wholeness that all desires naturally flow to you. In the quiet hills of a mountain village, Leonard spent decades pursuing success, believing it lay just beyond the next achievement. He collected degrees, titles, and accolades, yet satisfaction remained elusive. It wasn't until illness forced him to step back that everything changed. In his withdrawal from the chase, success found him, arriving in forms far more magnificent than his limited vision had imagined. These stories mirror the truth within your own journey. When you release your white-knuckled grip on what you think must be, you create space for what is meant to be. This is not abandonment of your desires, it is profound trust in their inevitable fulfillment. Your release signals to the universe that you are ready to receive. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment as the sun rises or sets. Bring to mind the one thing you most deeply long for. Feel its absence, acknowledge the yearning, then speak these words with conviction. I release this and trust it is already mine. For the next 7 days, let this desire rest in sacred silence. Speak not of it. Chase not after it. Let the universe work unhindered by your interference. In this holy surrender, watch as what is truly yours finds its way home. Part 2, The Flow of Effortless Alignment. Chapter 11, The Magnetic Power of Non-Resistance. In the bustling heart of a city that never slept, Arthur waged daily battles against the world. His jaw clenched at red lights, his words sharp with shop attendants, his spirit armed against life itself. Each morning became a war, each interaction a skirmish, until exhaustion etched permanent lines across his face. Yet in this resistance, he remained blind to a fundamental truth, that his very fight against life's flow was creating the turbulence he sought to escape. You possess within you the power to transmute resistance into flow through one simple shift: acceptance. When you align with what is, rather than fight against it, the universe's momentum becomes your ally rather than your opponent. This ancient wisdom speaks of a force far greater than mere passive resignation. It whispers of active surrender, of saying yes to life's unfolding with such profound trust that resistance dissolves like morning mist. Arthur's transformation began the day weariness finally overcame his will to fight. In that moment of surrender, he whispered yes to a delayed train, yes to a canceled meeting, yes to rain without an umbrella. To his amazement, each acceptance created space for unexpected gifts, a conversation that led to an opportunity, a quiet moment that brought clarity, a detour that led him home. The universe operates through the law of least resistance. Like water flowing around rocks rather than trying to move them, your path becomes effortless when you cease pushing against what is. Your resistance creates the very obstacles you rail against, while your acceptance reveals passages you never knew existed. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, Estelle taught mathematics for 30 years, pride in her methods becoming a shield after her husband's passing. Her need to be right hardened into armor, keeping colleagues and students at a distance. Yet when a young teacher suggested a new approach, something in Estelle softened. Instead of defending her territory, she simply said, yes. That single surrender opened a flood of grace. Her classroom came alive with new energy. Her relationships deepened, and the loneliness she had been fighting quietly lifted. These stories reflect the transformative power waiting in your own surrender. What you resist persists, but what you embrace transforms. This is not weakness. It is wisdom. This is not giving up. It is growing up into spiritual maturity. Sacred practice. As the sun rises tomorrow, identify one area of your life where resistance has become habitual. Throughout the day, whenever this situation arises, practice internal acceptance. Simply say yes within your heart, without judgment or defense. Watch how this subtle shift begins to alter the very fabric of your experience. Let this be your experiment in surrender, your laboratory of acceptance. The universe awaits your permission to show you a gentler way. Chapter 12. When Desires Bloom in Silence. In a small town where everyone knew everyone's dreams, Elmer was known as the man of grand announcements. His voice would fill the local cafe with declarations of future success, his hands gesturing wildly as he shared his latest plans. "Next month," he would proclaim, "I'll open that bookstore." Or, "By summer you'll see my name on that building." Yet year after year his words scattered like leaves in the wind, leaving nothing but empty echoes. Then came the illness that sealed his lips. For weeks Elmer sat in forced silence, his dreams locked within his heart. At first he felt imprisoned by his inability to speak, but gradually something shifted. In the quiet of his recovery, the bookstore he had talked about for years suddenly became available at a price he could afford. The building he had pointed to now sought a new owner, and his application was accepted without question. Within months, his unspoken desires materialized like morning dew, silent, natural, inevitable. The universe responds not to the volume of your declarations, but to the depth of your silent knowing. When you cease to scatter your energy through constant proclamation, it gathers like a hidden spring, growing more powerful in its stillness. Helen's story mirrors this ancient truth. A talented artist, she had shared every creative idea, every project plan, with anyone who would listen. Her enthusiasm spilled over coffee dates and phone calls, leaving her feeling drained and her projects perpetually incomplete. One day, witnessing how a fellow artist quietly unveiled a finished masterpiece that no one knew was in progress, Helen understood. She began holding her creative visions close, like precious seeds planted in fertile soil. In the sanctuary of her silence, her ideas took root and flourished. Her energy, no longer dispersed through endless discussion, concentrated into pure creative force. Your words, when released too freely, can dilute the power of your intentions. Each time you speak of what you desire, you release a portion of the energy needed to manifest it. This is not about secrecy, it is about sacred containment. Like a pressure vessel that builds steam, your silent intentions gather force until manifestation becomes inevitable. Practice. The silence of power. Choose one desire that burns brightest in your heart. For the next 21 days, let it become your sacred secret. Share it with no one. Discuss it with no one. Instead, each morning before sunrise, hold this desire in your heart while repeating silently, "In silence my power grows." Let your quiet certainty become the soil from which your manifestation will spring. Chapter 13. The universe only speaks energy. In the hallowed halls of academia, there lived a philosopher named Claude who believed that every mystery of existence could be solved through pure reason. His office walls were lined with dusty volumes of logic and metaphysics, each book a testament to his relentless pursuit of intellectual understanding. You see, Claude approached life as an equation to be solved, a puzzle whose pieces would surely fit if only he thought hard enough. When love entered his life unexpectedly, Claude attempted to analyze it, to break it down into its component parts. He created flowcharts of emotions and spreadsheets of interactions. Yet when his beloved departed without explanation, No amount of logical reasoning could heal his wounded heart. In that moment of profound loss, Claude discovered what you already know in your depths, that life moves not by the mechanics of mind, but by the magnetism of feeling. The universe speaks not in syllogisms, but in vibrations. Your thoughts may chart the course, but it is your emotional frequency that moves mountains. This truth lies at the heart of manifestation, not in what you think, but in what you feel. The mind can only comprehend what has been. The heart creates what will be. Consider Nora, whose scientific training as a nurse led her to doubt anything beyond the measurable. Each day, she documented vital signs and tracked medical outcomes, believing that life followed predictable patterns. Yet something shifted when her favorite patient recovered against all odds, not through medical intervention, but through an inexplicable force that defied her charts and statistics. This experience cracked open her certainty, allowing wonder to seep in. As Nora began to trust her intuition alongside her training, she witnessed more and more moments that her medical texts couldn't explain. She learned to feel her way forward, letting her heart's wisdom guide her hands. The miracles she once dismissed as coincidence now appeared as natural as breathing. Your own journey of manifestation begins not in the stratosphere of thought, but in the depths of feeling. The universe responds not to your mental gymnastics, but to your emotional signature. When you align your heart's frequency with your desires, you become a living prayer. Sacred practice. As the morning sun bathes the world in golden light, create a sanctuary of sound and feeling. Choose music that resonates with the essence of your desired reality. Close your eyes and let the melody carry you into that future state. Don't name it, don't define it, simply feel it. Let your body become an instrument of pure vibration, tuned to the frequency of your dreams. Maintain this state for as long as the music plays, knowing that in these moments of pure feeling you are broadcasting your destiny to the universe. Chapter 14. Shut Your Mouth, Open the Channel. In the quiet halls of an ancient monastery positioned among misty mountains, a transformation unfolded that would reveal one of the universe's most potent secrets. You are about to discover how the power of sacred silence can accelerate manifestation beyond what any words could achieve. Virgil arrived at the monastery as a man known for his eloquent sermons, his voice having filled countless chapels with passionate proclamations of truth. Yet as he took his vow of silence, something extraordinary began to stir within him. In the absence of speech, his inner vision sharpened. Without words to scatter his energy, he found himself touching minds without speaking, healing with a glance, and manifesting with mere intention. The universe, it seemed, had waited patiently behind his cascade of words, ready to work through him once he grew still. When you speak of your desires prematurely, you release the very energy needed to manifest them. Each declaration dilutes the power that could have been directed inward, where real transformation occurs. The universe responds not to your words, but to the concentrated force of your silent knowing. Consider Ruth, a talented artist who spoke endlessly of her dreams to anyone who would listen. She shared her visions of galleries and exhibitions, described every painting she would create, and told everyone about her future success. Yet with each telling, her dreams seemed to recede further into the distance, becoming more like stories than possibilities. Then, through an inner prompting, she sealed her lips and turned her energy inward. She painted in solitude, held her visions close, and protected them from the dissipating effect of casual conversation. Within months, opportunities began appearing as if by magic. Gallery owners discovered her work. Collectors sought her out, and her art began speaking for itself. You see yourself in these stories, don't you? How often have you felt your dreams grow distant with each retelling? The universe operates through sacred silence, through the magnetic power of contained energy. When you hold your desires in the sacred vessel of silence, you allow them to gather power, to crystallize into form. Sacred practice. Select one precious goal that burns in your heart. For 7 days, let no word of it pass your lips. Each morning, before the world awakens, sit in silence and feel this desire as already fulfilled. Direct all the energy you would have used in speaking about it into this silent communion. Watch as the universe begins responding not to your words, but to your silent certainty. Chapter 15. The field responds to calm. In a sun-scorched valley, where hope had withered like the crops beneath the merciless sky, Lyle stood at the edge of his barren fields. For months, he had paced and worried, checking weather reports obsessively and trying every method to coax water from the heavens. His prayers grew more desperate with each passing day, until exhaustion finally forced him to surrender. One morning, something shifted. Instead of fighting against the drought, Lyle sat quietly on his porch, accepting what was. In that moment of perfect calm, he felt at one with the parched earth beneath him. His breathing slowed, his mind cleared, and a profound peace washed over him. That very evening, clouds gathered on the horizon, and by nightfall, gentle rain blessed his land. This truth echoes through the ages. The universe mirrors your internal state. When you cultivate inner stillness, the outer world responds in kind. Your thoughts and emotions create ripples in the invisible field that surrounds you, affecting everything within its reach. Like a still pond that perfectly reflects the sky above, a calm mind allows the universe to work through you unimpeded. Consider how water behaves. In turbulence, it becomes muddy and chaotic. But in stillness, it naturally clarifies. Your consciousness works the same way. When you cease the internal struggle, solutions arise effortlessly and circumstances align naturally. Edna's story reflects this same principle. As her wedding day approached, she found herself caught in a whirlwind of details, vendors, and family demands. The more she tried to control every aspect, the more things seemed to unravel. It wasn't until she fell ill and was forced to rest that everything changed. In her bedbound serenity, she discovered that plans fell into place with surprising ease. The very things she had struggled to arrange came together perfectly when she stopped forcing them. What Edna discovered, and what you must understand, is that peace is not passive. It is powerfully magnetic. When you maintain inner calm, you become a still point in a turning world, and life organizes itself around your serenity. The ancient practice of still waters. As the first light touches the horizon each morning, find a quiet space. Sit comfortably, allowing your spine to rise naturally toward the heavens. Begin the sacred breath. Inhale for 4 counts, filling your being with pure potential. Hold this breath for 7 counts, letting peace permeate every cell. Then release for 8 counts, allowing all resistance to flow away. Continue this rhythm until you feel your internal waters grow still and clear. In this space of perfect calm, you become one with the creative force of the universe itself. Chapter 16. Let it be and it becomes. In the heart of a bustling city lived Leon, an inventor whose workshop buzzed with the constant hum of machinery and the weight of unrealized dreams. Each morning, he would arrive before dawn, determined to perfect his revolutionary energy device. His hands trembled with caffeine and determination as he adjusted every component with obsessive precision. Yet the more he tried to control each variable, the further success seemed to slip away. One winter morning, after another failed test, Leon did something unprecedented. He walked away, not in defeat, but in surrender to a deeper wisdom that whispered, "Let go." He packed away his blueprints, cleared his workbench, and for the first time in years allowed himself to breathe without the burden of forcing an outcome. 3 months later, a retired engineer discovered Leon's abandoned patent application. Intrigued by the potential he saw, he shared it with investors who had the resources to develop it properly. The very project Leon had released came back to him, transformed by forces beyond his control. The universe operates through sacred principles that often defy human logic. When you release your grip on what you desire most, you create space for divine orchestration to work through channels you could never have engineered. This truth reveals itself time and again to those who dare to trust in the wisdom of letting go. Consider Pearl, whose small bakery struggled under the weight of her constant intervention. She tried to control every aspect, from the precise temperature of her ovens to the exact arrangement of every display, yet success eluded her until the day her old mixer broke down, forcing her to adapt. In that space of uncertainty, she discovered that her customers preferred the slight variations in her breads, the organic nature of her displays, and the peaceful energy that now filled her shop when she stopped trying to manage every detail. These stories mirror the ancient truth that is whispered through the ages. Your highest power lies not in control, but in conscious release. When you step back from your struggles, you allow the infinite intelligence of the universe to work on your behalf. This is not passive resignation, but rather an active alignment with forces far greater than human will. Sacred practice. Take a moment now to write down your current struggle on a piece of paper. Feel the weight of it in your hands. Then, with reverence, place it in an envelope and write upon it, "Handled by the universe." For 7 nights, let this envelope rest beneath your pillow. As you sleep, know that forces beyond your understanding are weaving solutions you could never have conceived. This is not merely a symbolic act. It is a declaration of trust in the divine orchestration of all things. Chapter 17. Sacred Inaction as a Daily Practice. In a time not long past, Willis, a respected executive, measured his worth by the hours he worked and the tasks he completed. Each evening, he would return home with pride in his exhaustion, wearing his fatigue like a badge of honor. Yet when illness confined him to bed rest for a month, something extraordinary unfolded. You see, in those quiet hours when his calendar lay empty and his phone remained silent, Willis encountered a truth that had eluded him throughout his years of ceaseless motion. The universe began speaking to him through the language of stillness. The ancient wisdom whispers this truth: action born of fear creates only more fear, while stillness born of trust creates infinite possibility. You have been taught that worth stems from doing, from producing, from the constant forward march of achievement. Yet this teaching springs from the limited understanding of those who have forgotten the sacred power of divine timing. When you cease the endless doing, you enter the realm where miracles flourish. It is in the spaces between action that the universe aligns all things in your favor. Your worth is not measured in tasks completed or goals achieved. It is inherent in your very being. Consider Elaine, a writer who spent years forcing words onto empty stories. Each morning she would sit at her desk, willing inspiration to come through sheer determination. Her breakthrough arrived only when she surrendered to afternoon walks with no purpose, to mornings spent watching clouds drift across the sky. It was in these moments of pure being that her greatest works flowed through her, unbidden and perfect. This mirrors the truth of your own journey. The moments when you feel you should be doing more are precisely the moments when you are called to do less. Your presence, your willingness to be still, creates ripples in the fabric of reality far more powerful than any forced action could achieve. Sacred practice. Set aside 30 minutes each day. Let this be your temple of stillness. Remove your phone, step away from all planning and future thinking, and simply be. This is not meditation with a goal. It is pure presence. Let your worth be felt rather than proven. In this sacred space of non-doing, you align with the infinite power that has orchestrated galaxies long before human hands learned to build. Chapter 18. Patience. In the heart of an ancient village where time moved like molten metal, lived Sylvester, whose hands knew the language of iron and fire. Each morning, as you too must learn, he would enter his forge, not with haste, but with reverence. The metal spoke to him through its resistance, teaching him that force yields only breakage, while patient heat transforms all. You see, within the universal field, patience is not merely waiting, it is active power in its most refined form. When you rush against the natural timing of manifestation, you create friction that delays your desires. The universe operates on perfect timing, and your alignment with this divine schedule determines the grace of your manifestations. Through years of working with stubborn metal, Sylvester discovered that the greatest transformations occurred not through hammering harder, but through understanding the precise moment when the iron was ready to yield. This same wisdom governs your manifestations. The delay you perceive is often the universe heating the elements of your desire to their perfect malleability. In a distant city, Irene spent 7 years visualizing her dream of opening a healing center. Each morning she would count the days, her heart growing heavier with anticipation. Then one morning she simply stopped counting. She released her grip on time itself, allowing the universe to work its unseen alchemy. Within months, every door she had tried to force open simply fell away, revealing a path she could never have planned. Your desires are like seeds planted in the soil of infinite potential. You cannot rush their sprouting by digging them up each day to check their progress. The universe's timing is impeccable, and your trust in this timing is the hidden muscle that brings forth manifestation. Sacred practice. The faith timeline. Take a blank sheet of paper and write at its top, "All is unfolding in divine timing." List each of your heart's desires as though they have already manifested. Beside each one, write a future date, not as a deadline, but as a declaration of trust in the universe's perfect schedule. Place this timeline where you will see it daily, but resist the urge to revise or obsess over it. Let it serve as your contract with divine timing, a reminder that what is yours is already in motion, ripening in the unseen realms until the moment of its perfect emergence. Chapter 19. Signs are the echo of surrender. In the quiet streets of a bustling city, Cornelius walked each day with his mind full of questions, desperately seeking answers from the universe. His prayers were loud, his pleas constant, yet the heavens seemed silent to his demands. For months he searched for signs, analyzing every occurrence, dissecting every moment for hidden meaning, until exhaustion finally overcame his seeking. It was only then, in the space of his surrender, that the universe began its dance. When he no longer strained to see, signs appeared like morning dew, natural, effortless, and perfectly placed. A book would fall open to exactly the page he needed. A stranger would speak the very words that answered his unspoken questions. Numbers aligned, paths crossed, and doors opened. Not because he willed them, but because he allowed them. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. Its language is synchronicity, those subtle alignments that appear when you cease demanding and begin receiving. Your desperate search for signs creates static that drowns out the very messages trying to reach you. Like a radio seeking clear reception, your energy must be tuned to the frequency of trust rather than need. Bernice understood this truth only after years of intellectual resistance. A professor of mathematics, she had built her life on probability and proof. Yet something shifted when she stopped requiring evidence and started embracing mystery. Suddenly, patterns emerged that defied statistical explanation. The same message would appear in 3 different places. Chance meetings carried impossible coincidences. What she had dismissed as random now revealed itself as orchestrated, not by her mind, but by a wisdom far beyond it. These stories mirror your own journey with divine guidance. The signs you seek are already present, waiting in the spaces between your thoughts. They appear not when you demand them, but when you create the inner silence necessary to receive them. Your surrender is the antenna through which the universe broadcasts its messages. Sacred practice. Choose a moment at dawn or dusk when nature's rhythm is most pristine. Walk in solitude, letting each step be a release of expectation. Whisper once, "Show me a sign," then let the words dissolve into the air. Continue your walk in complete receptivity, neither seeking nor avoiding. When you return home, record in your journal any unusual alignments, unexpected encounters, or gentle nudges that crossed your path. Trust that what appears is exactly what you needed to see, even if its meaning isn't immediately clear. Chapter 20. Watch as it all aligns. In the quiet warmth of a small garden, Howard sat in his weathered rocking chair, marveling at the strange way life had begun to unfold. For 30 years he had walked his postal route, delivering other people's dreams while setting his own aside. Each morning he had risen before dawn, trudging through rain and snow, believing that only through constant motion could anything be achieved. Yet now, in the stillness of retirement, Howard witnessed an extraordinary phenomenon. The very things he had once pursued with such vigor, the art classes he'd abandoned, the friendships he'd been too busy to nurture, the peace he'd sought but never found, began flowing into his life without effort. A neighbor invited him to a painting group. Old friends appeared unexpectedly. His garden flourished, not through toil, but through trust. The universe speaks in whispers, and its gifts arrive on silent feet. When you cease the endless chase, you create space for miracles to find you. Your alignment with life's flow is not something you manufacture. It is something you notice, like sunshine warming your face or a gentle breeze carrying the scent of roses. Consider Mildred, whose days once overflowed with endless activity. Her calendar burst with appointments, her mind raced with plans, and still fulfillment eluded her grasp. Until one day, exhausted by the pursuit, she simply stopped. She allowed herself to sit in her favorite chair, watching the world through her window. In that sacred stillness, something shifted. The right opportunities appeared at precisely the right moments. The perfect connections formed effortlessly. Her life began to arrange itself around her peace, like iron filings aligning with a magnet. What you have been seeking has always been seeking you, but its gentle knock could not be heard above the noise of your striving. As you release the need to orchestrate every moment, you'll discover that the universe has been composing a symphony in your honor all along. Practice. The Watch at Work Journal. As each day draws to a close, take your journal and record every instance where life moved in your favor without your intervention. Note the unexpected phone call that brought opportunity, the chance meeting that opened doors, the solution that appeared while you weren't looking. Let each entry build your trust in the invisible hand that guides all things. Through this practice, you'll begin to witness the masterful choreography of the universe, a dance that becomes visible only when you stop trying to lead. Part 3: The Mastery of Unseen Forces. Chapter 21: The Unmovable Mover Within. In a bustling marketplace where voices competed for attention, Alvin stood behind his modest flower stall. Unlike the other vendors who called out to passers-by, he simply arranged his blooms with quiet devotion. Years earlier, he had exhausted himself trying to be noticed, to make his presence known through loud declarations and desperate gestures. But something had shifted within him, a letting go so complete that it transformed his very essence. As weeks passed, an extraordinary phenomenon began to unfold. People started pausing at his stall, drawn not by promotional signs or enthusiastic sales pitches, but by something far more potent: his unwavering presence. They found themselves lingering, sharing their stories, seeking his counsel. Without striving to be important, he had become essential. This is the law of spiritual gravity. Just as the sun need not announce its warmth to draw life toward it, your centered presence creates a natural field of attraction. When you release the need to prove your worth, you activate an ancient power that does the work that no amount of effort could achieve. Gertrude discovered this truth in her own way. As a respected elder in her community, she had always felt compelled to justify her decisions, to explain her wisdom, to convince others of her insights. Each gathering became an exercise in elaborate explanation, yet she noticed how eyes would glaze over, attention would wander. Then illness took her voice for several weeks. In that imposed silence, something remarkable occurred. When she could finally speak again, she found herself offering only what was necessary: brief, crystalline thoughts that emerged from her depths. To her amazement, people leaned in. They hung on her few words. Her quiet certainty carried more weight than all her previous explanations combined. You see, true power operates like gravity, invisible yet irresistible. It doesn't push, it pulls. It doesn't convince, it attracts. When you stand firmly in your truth without the need to defend or explain it, you become like a mountain, unmoved yet moving everything around you. Sacred practice. The power of less. In your next meaningful conversation, practice the art of conscious reduction. Where you would normally offer 10 words, offer 5. Where you would rush to fill a silence, allow it to breathe. Notice how this subtle withdrawal creates space for others to move toward you. Observe how your quiet presence becomes a center of gravity, naturally drawing attention and respect. Let each word emerge from a place of grounded certainty rather than nervous energy. Feel how this shifts not only the conversation, but the very field of energy in the room. In doing less, you become more. In saying less, you are heard more clearly. Chapter 22. Faith so deep it needs no words. In the quiet corners of an ancient village, there lived a merchant named Homer, whose life had been built on certainty and security. Then, in the space of a season, everything he possessed was stripped away: his wealth, his status, his connections. Yet in this emptying, you will find a truth that transcends all material loss. While others rushed to offer solutions or sought to rebuild his fortune, Homer did something remarkable. He sat in perfect stillness. No prayers left his lips. No desperate plans formed in his mind. In the depth of his being, an unwavering knowing took root. All would be restored in divine time. This knowing, untouched by doubt or desperation, carries a frequency that moves mountains. When you release the need to speak your faith, to prove it, or to receive confirmation, you tap into the deepest current of universal law. Silent certainty is the highest form of trust. Consider Lillian, whose daughter vanished into the world without a trace. While others launched searches and posted notices, Lillian withdrew into sacred stillness. Each morning she sat in her garden, holding only the quiet certainty of reunion. She did not speak of her daughter's return or question its timing. Her faith required no voice, for it resided in a place beyond words. One autumn morning, as leaves turned golden, her daughter appeared at the garden gate, drawn home by a force she couldn't explain. What brought her back was not the searching or the calling, but the pure, unwavering certainty in her mother's heart. You see, the universe responds not to the volume of your requests, but to the depth of your knowing. When faith becomes so complete that it needs no expression, you have discovered its true power. This is not passive waiting. It is active alignment at its most refined. Sacred practice. Find a space where silence wraps around you like a cloak. For 10 minutes, sit with the outcome you seek already fulfilled in your heart. Do not ask, do not hope, do not doubt. Simply know, as you know the sun will rise, that what you seek is already yours in the unseen realm. Let this knowing fill every cell of your being, requiring no words, no proof, no confirmation. This is the practice of silent faith, the highest form of spiritual certainty. Chapter 23. No one needs to know. In the bustling marketplace of life, you will encounter a story that speaks to the sacred power of silence. There lived a merchant named Melvin, whose voice once carried across town squares and echoed through meeting halls. His dreams and plans spilled freely from his lips, each declaration seeming to strengthen his resolve. Yet with every sharing, his desires grew more distant, like water seeping through cupped hands. Through divine grace, Melvin discovered an ancient truth. That which is most precious must often remain unspoken. He began to guard his aspirations as carefully as a gardener protects delicate seedlings, not from fear but from understanding that spiritual power concentrates in silence. The universe speaks in whispers, and those who learn to hold their peace find their energy gathering like morning dew. When you broadcast your intentions to the world, you scatter the very force needed to bring them into being. Your words, however well-intentioned, can dissipate the magnetic field of manifestation. In a small shop at the edge of town, Betty worked her needle through fine cloth, creating garments that seemed to emerge from pure inspiration. Those designs she spoke of often remained mere sketches, while those she held close to her heart manifested with surprising speed. Her unannounced creations carried a power that her discussed ones never possessed. This truth extends beyond the realm of creative work. It touches every aspect of life where transformation is desired. The universe responds not to what you say, but to the concentrated energy you hold within. When you protect your dreams from casual conversation, you create a sacred space where manifestation can occur undisturbed. Your practice now calls you to choose one precious dream, one seed of possibility that lives in your heart. For 30 days, let it remain completely unspoken. Share it with no one. Discuss it with no one. Instead, nurture it in the fertile soil of your inner world, watering it only with quiet belief. Watch how your dream grows stronger in this protected space, fed by the power of your sacred silence. Let this practice reveal to you the potency that comes when you stop dispersing your energy through words, and instead allow it to gather in the quiet chambers of your heart. For in this silence you will find a power that no amount of declaration could ever match. Ancient practice. Select one cherished aspiration and seal it in complete silence for 30 days. Each morning, acknowledge it only in your heart, feeding it with unwavering faith. Let no word of it pass your lips, allowing its power to concentrate undisturbed within you. Chapter 24. The Power of Peaceful Expectation. In the sacred rhythm of life, there exists a truth so simple yet profound that most overlook its power. Let me share with you the tale of Dennis, who drove trains along the iron veins of the countryside. Each day he would grip the controls with white knuckles, watching the clock with anxious eyes, believing that his tension somehow kept the wheels turning. Until one morning, as dawn painted the sky in gentle hues, Dennis witnessed something that changed everything. A flock of birds, moving in perfect formation, neither hurried nor delayed. In that moment, a whisper of wisdom touched his heart. He realized that nature never rushed, yet everything arrived precisely when it should. From that day forward, Dennis released his grip on time. He settled into a state of peaceful certainty, understanding that the universe operated on its own perfect schedule. As his inner peace grew, something miraculous began to unfold. Not only did his trains run smoother, but the very fabric of his life began to align with an unseen order. This truth extends beyond the rails of Dennis's story into the infinite possibilities of your own life. When you release the need to force timing, you enter into harmony with the universe's natural flow. It is not coincidence but cosmic law that what you seek arrives precisely when your energy matches its frequency. Consider May, who lived in a small cottage at the edge of town. While others frantically chased abundance, she spent her mornings in quiet gratitude, preparing her home and heart as if prosperity had already arrived. She placed fresh flowers in empty vases and kept her cupboards clean, not from lack, but from knowing. Her peaceful expectation became a magnetic force, and soon her life reflected the abundance she had so quietly honored. Your own life operates under this same principle. When peaceful expectation replaces anxious wanting, you create a vibrational match for your desires. This is not passive waiting, but active alignment, a state of being that draws your good to you with the precision of divine timing. Sacred practice. As the sun rises each morning, take your journal and write with deliberate awareness. I expect miracles today because I am aligned. Let these words sink deep into your consciousness, not as mere hope, but as living truth. Carry this silent knowing through your day, letting it infuse every breath, every step. This is not an affirmation to be repeated, but a state of being to be embodied. Chapter 25. Speak only when the world has shifted. In the silence of a bustling world, there lies a sacred truth about the power of unspoken progress. Let me share with you the wisdom of Ernest, a man whose life transformed when he learned to guard the sacred seeds of his becoming. Ernest had always been one to announce his plans, share his progress, and seek validation at every turn. Each morning, he would update his social circles about his latest endeavors, his newest habits, his tiniest steps forward. Yet with each declaration, he felt his dreams growing dimmer, his energy dispersing like morning mist in the sunlight. Through divine grace, a period of solitude descended upon his life. In this quiet space, Ernest discovered that his unshared actions carried a magnetic force that his proclaimed intentions never held. As he worked in silence, his transformation deepened, and the universe responded not to his words, but to his quiet dedication. The law of unspoken power reveals itself in this truth. When you protect the sacred alchemy of your growth, you preserve its potency. Your energy, undiluted by premature sharing, becomes a concentrated force of manifestation. The universe honors what you nurture in silence more than what you broadcast in haste. This wisdom echoes in the tale of Opal, whose small shop struggled despite her constant updates about upcoming changes and improvements. Each announcement seemed to delay the very progress she sought to share. Then, in a moment of clarity, she ceased all declarations. She simply worked, silently implementing changes, allowing results to emerge naturally. Within months, her shop transformed. Customers noticed and spoke of the changes themselves, their words carrying more power than her previous announcements ever had. Opal had discovered that true power flows not from speaking of what will be, but from allowing what is becoming to reveal itself in its own time. You see yourself in these stories, do you not? How often have you felt the urge to share your progress, to speak of what is still forming? This impulse is natural, yet it often disturbs the delicate alchemy of manifestation. Your dreams are like tender seeds requiring darkness to take root. Sacred practice. For the next 7 days, embrace the power of sacred silence. Let your actions accumulate in private, speaking only of what is already manifested. Hold your progress close, like a precious secret between you and the universe. When results emerge, they will speak for themselves, carrying the pure energy of unforced achievement. This practice will teach you the profound difference between announcing and allowing, between forcing recognition and earning it through quiet dedication. Chapter 26. The Divine Waits for Your Withdrawal. In the depths of time, there exists a truth so fundamental that it often eludes those who seek it most earnestly. Let me share with you the tale of Wallace, whose journey illuminates the paradox of divine timing. Wallace lived his life as one who believed in the power of constant intervention. His hands were always busy fixing, adjusting, and manipulating circumstances to bend to his will. Each morning, he would wake with a list of situations to manage, problems to solve, and outcomes to force into being. Yet the more he reached out to control, the more life seemed to slip through his fingers like water. One day, exhausted from his endless interventions, Wallace simply stopped. Not because he had found wisdom, but because he had run out of strength to continue. In that space of forced surrender, he witnessed something extraordinary. Everything he had been struggling to arrange began falling into place of its own accord. The very problems he had fought to solve dissolved without his touch, and solutions appeared from unexpected directions. You see, the universe operates through a wisdom far beyond human comprehension. When you step back from your constant adjustments, you create space for divine orchestration to work its subtle magic. This is not abandonment of responsibility. It is the highest form of trust in the cosmic order. Consider Eloise, whose story mirrors this sacred principle. She had spent years attempting to micromanage every detail of her future, planning each step with meticulous precision. Her calendar was filled with deadlines and goals, each one a declaration of her need to control time itself. But the future remained stubbornly resistant to her careful arrangements. It was only when she released her grip on tomorrow that the pieces began to align. In her withdrawal from constant planning, she discovered that time held its own perfect rhythm. Opportunities appeared precisely when needed, not when demanded. Doors opened without being forced. The very future she had tried to construct revealed itself to be already in motion, guided by an intelligence far greater than her own. Your own life contains areas where you may be interfering with divine timing. Each attempt to force an outcome creates resistance in the very fabric of manifestation. Withdrawal is not defeat. It is an acknowledgement of the sacred order that exists beyond your limited perspective. The practice before you now is both simple and profound. Choose one situation that has consumed your attention and energy. For the next 48 hours, withdraw completely from all involvement. No planning, no adjusting, no attempting to influence the outcome. Instead, whenever thoughts of the situation arise, simply affirm, "The divine knows what I do not." Let this be your surrender to a wisdom greater than your own. This practice serves as a gateway to deeper trust in the unseen movements of the universe. In your withdrawal, you create space for miracles to unfold according to their own perfect timing. Chapter 27. The Quiet That Commands Reality. In the ancient wisdom traditions, there exists a sacred understanding of true power, one that requires no declaration, no assertion, and no force. Let me share with you the story of Archie, whose very presence carried the weight of unspoken authority. Archie spent his days moving from home to home, tuning pianos with such deliberate care that time itself seemed to slow in his presence. Those who watched him work found themselves unconsciously matching his measured breathing, his unhurried movements. Without a word, he would enter a room and the atmosphere would shift, conversations would soften, movements would gentle, and a profound peace would descend. His power lay not in what he did, but in who he had become through years of cultivating inner stillness. Through this silence, you too will discover that true influence flows not from what you say, but from the frequency you emanate. When you align with the sacred rhythm of inner peace, the outer world naturally arranges itself around your stillness. This is the hidden law of energetic command, the power that needs no voice to be heard. Consider Beulah, who once lived in the shadows of her own hesitation. She never sought to lead, never raised her voice to be noticed. Yet as she cultivated an unwavering inner calm, something remarkable began to unfold. People started turning to her in times of chaos, drawn to the steady harbor of her presence. Without campaign or declaration, she became the heart of her community, not through assertion, but through embodiment of peace. What these stories reveal is the profound truth that your state of being broadcasts more powerfully than any words you could speak. The universe responds not to volume but to vibration, not to demand but to resonance. Sacred practice. Today, enter a space, perhaps a room, a gathering, or even a crowded street, and remain in complete silence. Root yourself in the knowing that your presence alone is enough. Notice how the energy around you begins to shift, how others unconsciously respond to your inner stillness. Let your calm be your command, your peace be your power. Through this practice, you will witness firsthand how the field bends to match your frequency, without a single word being spoken. Chapter 28. Mastery is invisible to the untrained eye. In the stillness of dawn, Leonard would walk through the town's empty streets, his presence barely noticed, yet profoundly felt. Those who passed him might see only an ordinary man, but in his wake, extraordinary things unfolded. Gardens bloomed out of season, feuding neighbors found unexpected reconciliation, and children's nightmares transformed into dreams of wonder. He never claimed credit, never spoke of his gifts, and never sought recognition. The universe operates through vessels of pure alignment, those who have released the need to be seen, acknowledged, or validated. Your greatest power emerges not when you proclaim it, but when you embody it so completely that it becomes invisible, like the air that sustains all life yet remains unseen. Consider how the moon pulls the tides without announcement, how gravity holds worlds together without fanfare, how sunlight nourishes without demanding gratitude. These forces shape reality precisely because they operate beyond the realm of recognition or acclaim. In a small artist colony, Cora spent decades painting in her studio, sharing little, speaking less. Her early years were marked by exhibitions and reviews, but as she aged, she withdrew from the art world's spotlight. It was then, in the sacred solitude of her studio, that her work began to carry an otherworldly luminescence. Visitors to her rare shows would stand speechless before canvases that seemed to pulse with living light. The power hadn't come from recognition, it had come from its absence. You too hold this silent force within you. When you release the need for others to witness your spiritual work, when you allow your energy to flow without announcement or explanation, you tap into the deepest currents of universal power. Your true influence ripples outward not through declaration, but through the pure resonance of your aligned being. Practice. Take a quiet moment with pen and paper. Title your page "My Hidden Power," and write 3 ways you silently influence reality. Perhaps it's how your calm presence soothes others without words, or how your focused intention manifests without action, or how your quiet faith moves mountains while no one watches. Let this list serve as a testament to your invisible strength, a private acknowledgement of the power that needs no witness to work its miracles. Chapter 29. The last action is non-action. In the quiet hills overlooking a small valley, Everett sat in his weathered rocking chair, watching the sun paint the morning sky. At 92, his greatest wisdom came not from what he had done, but from what he had allowed life to do through him. The moments that shaped his existence most powerfully were those when he stepped aside, letting the universe work its silent magic. You see, life's most profound transformations arise not from forceful action, but from sacred stillness. When you release the need to orchestrate every outcome, you align with a power far greater than your own limited perspective. This truth becomes clear as you witness how the most significant shifts in your journey often emerge from spaces where you chose not to interfere. The path of non-action requires immense trust, a trust that runs deeper than mere belief. It asks you to recognize that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. This is not passive resignation, but rather an active surrender to the infinite wisdom that orchestrates all things. Della, a woman who had spent decades pursuing success through relentless activity, found herself one autumn morning drawn to a secluded meadow. There, beneath an ancient oak tree, she simply sat. No phone, no plans, no goals, just presence. In that single hour of complete stillness, something within her shifted. The clarity she had chased through countless seminars and strategies emerged effortlessly in the silence. That moment of pure receptivity realigned her entire life's direction. This story mirrors the truth waiting in your own heart, that the universe speaks most clearly when you stop trying to direct its voice. The wisdom you seek already resides within, waiting not for your effort, but for your attention. Sacred practice. Find a place in nature that calls to your soul. Sit there for 1 full hour, making no attempt to meditate, solve problems, or reach conclusions. Simply be present. Let the wind, trees, and earth speak if they will. Make no demands of this time. This is not about achieving anything. It is about allowing everything. Let this hour become a gateway to the unforced power that moves through all things. Chapter 30. Power has been with you all along. In the depths of an ancient library, Samuel spent decades searching through dusty manuscripts and sacred texts, seeking the hidden keys to universal power. You might recognize yourself in his relentless pursuit, the endless seeking, the constant reaching for something just beyond your grasp. Yet the truth that would transform Samuel's life came not from the countless volumes he studied, but from the silence between their stories. When all his searching led to exhaustion, Samuel finally sat in stillness. In that moment of surrender, The wisdom he had chased across continents revealed itself, not as new knowledge, but as a remembrance of what he had always known. The power he sought had never been hidden in secret teachings. It had been waiting within him all along. This truth lies within you now as you hold these words. The force that moves mountains and shapes realities is not something to be acquired. It is your natural state, covered only by layers of doubt and endless doing. Consider Mavis, whose life unfolded like a sacred scroll. After years of loss that stripped away every external certainty, she discovered an unshakable truth. Joy requires no reason, and power needs no proof. Through surrender and silence, she learned to walk in quiet celebration of what already was, rather than yearning for what might be. You see, this journey of uncovering your innate power is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering who you have always been. The universe has been waiting for you to recognize this truth. You are not separate from its power. You are its expression. The sacred practice that follows will guide you home to this knowing. As twilight approaches, find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Light a single candle, letting its flame remind you of the eternal light within. Settle into stillness and speak these words with gentle authority. The power is within me, and it is enough. For 10 minutes, sit in the presence of this truth. Make no effort to feel or achieve anything. Simply rest in the recognition of what has always been true. Let the candlelight remind you that your inner flame has never dimmed. It has only waited for you to remember its presence. Conclusion. In these sacred stories you have uncovered what the ages have whispered, that true power flows not from doing, but from being. This wisdom, passed down through generations of silent sages, now rests within your heart. Guard it well, not as a secret to be hidden, but as a flame to be protected. The knowledge you now hold is not meant for debate or discussion. It is not theory to be argued, but truth to be lived. When you speak of these principles prematurely, you scatter their potency to the winds. The universe responds not to your words, but to your vibration, and silence holds the highest frequency. Let your transformed life be the only evidence needed. When others notice the shift in your energy, the peace in your presence, the grace that surrounds your path, they will ask. Even then, speak sparingly. Point them not to your words, but to their own inner knowing. Remember, the greatest masters walked quietly. Their power was felt, not heard. Their presence transformed, not their proclamations. You now stand in this lineage of those who understood that real power needs no announcement. In the coming days, as you integrate these teachings, resist the urge to explain your transformation. Let the results speak for themselves. Your role now is to embody, not evangelize. Stay rooted in the silence where all power originates. Watch as life begins to bend around your quiet certainty. The universe responds most powerfully to those who have learned to keep sacred silence. Your alignment is a private matter between you and the divine. As you honor this truth through your silence, you will witness the invisible forces of creation conspiring in your favor. Hold this wisdom in your heart. Let it work through you in silence. Your transformed presence will be message enough. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.